All right. So, and now, am I a part of your meeting?
Yeah, you are. And I'm recording it, so then I can go in and edit it down to just make it smoother and everything like that. But yeah, now it's recording on my system and should be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess we'll begin. Thanks everybody for joining us on a Bar Talk video virtual chat series that we're just starting here at the Omaha Bar Association. I'm very happy to have with us today the most notorious virtual attorney judge in town. He's been on the news already for working from home, using his computer to interview, to talk with the council as they're trying to do hearings, because he's been in self-quarantine for a period of time. And as we are doing this series, we're going to talk with people who are working from home, working remotely, having to make changes to their practice. And so we have Judge Horacio Wheelock of the Douglas County District Court here today. Welcome, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to speak with you, Mr. Summers.
So I have to ask, are you still working from your dining room table as you were in the interview on the news the other night? Is that still your normal?
Yeah, pretty close. I got, I guess, I don't know if demoted is the right word, but I was asked to leave the dining room table area because I may have been too loud during my hearings. So now I am in the home office. So it's been where I got the door shut and I can, I guess, speak as loudly as I need to in order to communicate effectively. So that's where I am.
Now, how long have you been working from home? Can you take us through the timeline again?
Sure. March 12th, 2020, I arrived in Omaha at approximately 4:15, 4:30 in the afternoon. So actually today is my 14th day of self-distancing, self-isolation, quarantine, whatever you want to call it. So tomorrow I will be back in the office. Even though, to be quite candid with you, it's almost as if I've never left because I've been doing literally everything from home, not only hearings, but filing orders, signing orders, and it's amazing what technology can do for us.
Is anybody else on the bench also working remotely, or are you the only person that you know of in county or district court on the bench that's doing this?
No, I think there's a few, you know, of us that are doing this. I don't know to what extent, but I know that we're all using technology now to assist us with keeping the proper social distance that is required of us from our president, our governor, the CDC, and all governing body, the mayor, and all governing bodies, while at the same time making sure that the courts remain open as is required of us by the Supreme Court. So it's a balancing act, and you know, I think that there's a lot of judges, not only in Douglas County but throughout the state, who are implementing some form of technology in order to make sure that we continue to provide excellent customer service to the litigants, to the attorneys, and to all the citizens accused, and everybody else who needs the court services.
And it seems like the efficiency is there, that you can do the same work. So there's not any delay or anything like that on what you're doing because of having to do this via video, right?
Yeah, there's been absolutely no delay. It's actually fascinating because, you know, nobody saw this coming. I certainly didn't. Even when I landed in Omaha, I didn't think I was going to, go into self-distancing, self-isolation. I had been cleared by my doctor to work. I was completely asymptomatic. Everybody in my family was asymptomatic. And I guess I never really thought that I would be, away from the office. But I will tell you, I'm probably more connected now than I am when I am in the office. The emails have just been, coming in and out. The orders have been signed with such great efficiency. The hearings that we've had, the platform you and I are using right now is Zoom, which we're limited to about 40 minutes, or at least I am, because I don't have the upgraded version. Do you have the upgraded version? I'm curious.
The Omaha Bar Association does have the upgraded version. Yeah, we have a little insight on that, so we're spending the money, the big bucks on that. Yep.
Okay, that's what, $19.99 a month or something like that?
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable, right?
Very reasonable. So for hearings, I use Skype, and it worked out great. It's working out great. And literally, I created 2 Skype accounts, one for my house, one for the courtroom, using my own emails. And, we had a hearing that lasted over 2 hours last week with no lags, with no interruptions. And I can see the entire courtroom, and I can hear everybody exceptionally well, and they can hear me. They got a 50-inch TV so that they can see my, my face. And lo and behold, it's actually worked out exceptionally well. What's been interesting that nobody sees, everybody sees that, right? But what nobody sees is the behind the scenes signing of the orders, getting the orders, that has worked out exceptionally well. And that technology is courtesy of the judge portal, which is through the state, the justice program, and also through Nitro Pro, which allows me to take a PDF document, sign it with an electronic signature. And when I mean, it's actually my signature in blue. And if I need to add to it, I can also edit it and add text to any PDF document. So, and I file that immediately. It goes to the clerk of the Douglas County District Court, and it gets processed, all paperless. So it's great.
And your bailiff and your court reporter, they're in your chambers working from that space, and you'll be working with them in that space when you get back to the bench tomorrow, correct?
Correct. My bailiff has been there every day, my court reporter during hearings has been there. Though we have the capability now to where if she cannot be there, she can court report remotely. You're going to start seeing more and more of that, I think, while we kind of get through this process. And so the technology is there, and we're trying to use everything we can. Like I said, and when I say we, I mean the bench, right? All of us, Douglas County District Court, we're implementing procedures to keep everybody safe, to abide by all the rules and regulations, and to make sure that efficiency continues, and that we continue to provide excellent customer service to all the litigants, citizens accused, lawyers, and anybody who has business with the courts.
So you've been on video, and obviously the people in the courtroom have been on video. Have any of the counselors that are coming in front of you, have they appeared via video instead of being in the courtroom or anything like that?
No, I haven't gone on the record with counsel appearing by video. I would probably entertain that, and I hope to entertain that in civil cases. Criminal cases, where we have certain statutes that kind of regulate, and I'll just kind of tell you what they are real quick, because I have them pretty handy as I get my rule book out.
I saw it on your desk in the news
Yeah.
in the news clip about you. Yeah,
There it is. we're governed by 29.4201 through Nebraska Revised Statute 29-4207 for criminal cases. And there's also Nebraska Revised Statute 24-734. So there's certain things that we can do in criminal cases, and there's certain hearings that we can't do. And really, it deals with the citizens accused rights and their ability to have their lawyer with them and right next to them so that they can consult on different things and different matters as the hearing progresses. The hearings that I had, I was the only one remotely appearing. The attorneys were there with their client, with the court reporter in the courtroom. So as far as the citizens accused rights, they were all protected. I was the only one appearing remotely.
Now, when you're in chambers, you have a certain daily routine and things like that. Now you're working, from your office, home office, and from your kitchen table last week. Is there any difference in that? Are you finding it difficult to step away and maybe take a break? Is there any sort of day in the life of change other than you're looking at a screen instead of a courtroom? How has that changed for you?
It's a great question. It's a lot more difficult for me to disconnect. Last night, well, I think you and I were texting or emailing at 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yep.
I've been working. I've been devoting a lot of time to figuring out the technology aspect of the job, and the different platforms that we're using. I'm using Skype. A lot of us on the bench are using Zoom, and now I'm starting to learn WebEx. So we got 3 different platforms. Well, not to mention, the judge portal and, just good old regular telephone as well. Let's not forget the telephone, because that's very important. That's a lot of business was done via teleconference. So to answer your question, it's extremely difficult to disconnect. I find myself working a lot more than I was when I was at the office. Because when I leave the office, I leave the office and then I drive straight to jiu-jitsu, and then I really disconnect while I'm on the mat. But now, there's jiu-jitsu's been put on hold for obvious reasons, and here I am in the office, kind of grinding it out. More of a labor of love than a grind, I should say, but very difficult to disconnect.
You mentioned teleconference and doing things over the phone. Maybe this is a point when we can talk just generally about lawyer communication with the court and with each other, and the importance of hearing somebody's tone. If you can see them, via video conference, as opposed to on the phone, there can be something said for their actions, how they appear, their emotions on their face, as opposed to just writing an email and thinking that you're getting everything across in that way of communicating, right? So as we're embracing technology, still make sure you understand tone, and maybe picking up the phone or doing a video conference can be to your favor rather than just relying on email for everything. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say, when I have teleconferences, I don't really like to do actual hearings via the telephone, because I don't get to see, the reactions, the grimaces, the tone, the change of inflection of the face, and that is very important. When I'm doing the audiovisual hearings, kind of like we're speaking now, we know we're tracking each other. I can see the reactions. I'm sure they can see me, because in my courtroom there's a 50-inch TV, and my face is very much emboldened on that monitor. So I think it's very important to have this connection. This is social distancing at its best, but yet it's still a human connection that we didn't, quite frankly, we didn't have several years ago. And this is very, very important to have it now.
This is maybe an unfair question, but I'm gonna ask you to look into your crystal ball. Do you see this as being a wave of the future of court interaction with counsel doing this more on the regular course of business, or is this just business as normal for right now in the COVID-19 stage of things? Where do you think the courts are going to go with this, or is it too early to tell?
I think we're in the future now. We're living it. It's here. 2 weeks ago, I didn't have it. I had a Skype account, an old one, but I never really used it. 2 weeks ago, I didn't have a Zoom account. 2 weeks ago, I didn't have a WebEx account. We had the judge portal, and I had been working with the judge portal, but quite frankly, not that much. And we are in the future now. I mean, we are living it. So do I think that this is going to change the way we conduct business? I think so. I think that now there's going to be an ease of being able to stay connected even when you're away. For instance, if you have business, if you have a case in Florida and you have a hearing, you can conduct the hearing while you're in the airport, waiting for the plane to come back to Omaha, or while you're on the beach on your downtime, assuming you're in there on business and not pleasure. So I think that this is going to add quite an efficiency to our court system, whether we want it or not. That's the reality of the situation, because we're here now. I think that you're going to see a change with the Douglas County Corrections as well. A lot of the citizens accused that are housed there will be appearing by audiovisual hearings, probably for bond reviews and certain pleas and certain sentencings that are agreed to. So that's going to add to the efficiency of the process as well. And it's going to save money in the long run. So we are living in the future now.
I have to say, I am excited for the ability of attorneys to not be charging their clients 2 hours while they're necessarily waiting for a hearing. I know that some work does get done, and there's a mixing of attorneys that helps, and that's good to have that outside of the official hearing in your chambers or on the record. But at the same time, it's always kind of been difficult for me to square the waiting around for your hearing and charging a client for that, which does happen. So I'm looking forward to that efficiency getting past to the consumer, the client, for sure. Now,
I will say there's no substitution for the real thing. You talk about that efficiency, but really I don't see it as an efficiency, and I'll tell you why. When you get two attorneys together in person, and they're waiting that 20 minutes or 30 minutes to speak to the judge because the judge is running behind, or there is more business done within that 20 and 30 minutes than you can believe. I mean, I've seen it in domestic cases. I've seen cases settle in that 20 or 30 minutes. I've seen it in civil cases. I've seen motions to compel settle. There is no substitute for actual, real human contact. That is the preference. That is my preference. I view this as a convenience, if you will, under the circumstances that we live in today. But if I had my druthers, I would much prefer to have the live human interaction. Had I not been, quite candidly, had I not been in self-isolation, self-distancing, self-quarantine, whatever you want to call it, I would have been at work, and I would have never have dived into this situation. I don't regret it. It was the right thing to do, especially we know now a lot more now from March 12th today than we did on March 12th. And I think it's very clear that even though you're asymptomatic of the coronavirus, you may still be a carrier of the virus and not have COVID-19. At least that's the way it was explained to me now. So no regrets. I did the right thing. I would do it again. I would highly recommend anybody to self-distance, self-quarantine if they have to. But as they say, circumstances cause us to react in different ways. And if you want to keep moving forward, at least for me, this was the way to do it. And you're seeing that a lot amongst my bench in the district court and other benches too. Sarpy County, I know, is doing it. Judge Randall, Judge Bowie, many judges in our bench are doing this. Judge Martinez in Sarpy County is doing it. So, like I said, there's no substitute for the real thing, but this is, the next best thing.
So you said that you don't regret, I think, going into self-isolation and doing this, but then I have to ask the question, and I'm a Francophile. Do you regret going to France at all?
We made an assessment and a decision, and we tried to cancel the trip. We were in the UK for 4 days and in France for 12 hours. Of those 12 hours, I think 6 were spent in the airport trying to leave. So literally, we arrived in France on the train. We went to the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was empty. We were able to get in with no lines. And then we went to the hotel, went to sleep, woke up at 2 a.m. Do I regret it? No. We tried to get our money back and we couldn't. Before, we tried to cancel the trip and they said the insurance wouldn't cover it because the insurance doesn't cover pandemics. It was a great trip. We learned a lot. My son really enjoyed it. So no, I don't regret it.
And it's been a learning experience. You've learned a lot, and I think hopefully we're learning a lot as a legal profession on different ways of how we can work in this new normal. So I appreciate you being the guinea pig, I suppose, of the system and relaying that to our membership. Thank you.
Just want to, just say one last thought. Everybody on my bench, the Douglas County District Court bench, the Douglas County Court bench, the juvenile court bench, the workers' compensation judges, we're all doing our very best to make sure that the justice system continues to move forward, to be as efficient as possible, and to provide the excellent customer service that our attorneys are used to, that our great citizens in our state are used to, or if they have not had an experience with the court system, would be happy to know about, and to make sure that everybody has a positive experience. So I can guarantee you that we're all doing our best. I know that because I've stayed in touch with many of my brethren, and we're going to keep moving forward. This too will pass, but the learning and all the lessons that we've learned from this will stay with us forever.
Absolutely. I appreciate your hard work and your dedication to the job and to the justice system in the U.S. and how it needs to continue to move, even if we're supposed to not be close to people or be in self quarantine or what have you, but we still have to have a justice system that's working, and it can't stop even in the middle of all this. So appreciate your dedication to that, Judge, and thanks for joining us today on the first edition of this. Another guinea pig moment, being the first on this. So appreciate it, and we'll see you soon on the bench this time. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Summers. Take care, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.